Welcome, everyone. This is Robin Nielsen with Insulite Health, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. Today is Tuesday Tip PCOS, right here every Tuesday. It's a really special time where we can connect and learn more about PCOS and how to heal from symptoms of PCOS and learn how to take charge of our health and our lives. And I think that's the most exciting part for me, is really teaching you how to be the CEO or the goddess or the queen of your own health, right? Because that's what it takes to be well and to feel fabulous. And I want that for you. And that was my journey. That's how I learned to be well, right? Was by taking charge of my health and understanding what was going on with my body and being able to direct my own health care. So that's why we're here. And I'd love for you to say hello if you're on live with me. I'd love to hear where you're from, any concerns that you have right now that are going on for you. I'd love to hear what those are so I can support you around that. And whether you're on live or whether you listen in later, just tag me in the post so that I can come back to answer them for you. So we've got a lot of fun things going on coming up. So right now in our VIP Inner Circle, when you purchase the PCOS 5-element system, or you just purchase the VIP Inner Circle membership, which is so inexpensive at $19.95 a month, we're actually having the Blissful Body Weight Loss Challenge going on right now for 21 days. We're only on day 2, so if you want to get started with us, you sure can. And then coming up in April, if starting a family is really important to you, we're going to actually have the I don't know what it's going to be called just yet, but it'll be the fertility challenge. So in April, there is Infertility Awareness Week. So we're going to really build on that so we can help you, get a regular menstrual cycle, start ovulating again, and start a family when your body is in a really good place. Because a healthy body creates a healthy baby, right? So we're all about that. All right. So let's see. So let's definitely get started. So today's topic is it's how PCOS affects your moods. Okay, how PCOS affects your moods, because PCOS and mood challenges go hand in hand, and that's really important to understand. And I'm sure if you've experienced symptoms of PCOS, right? So let's review some of the symptoms of PCOS so that we can be on the same page here. So symptoms of PCOS are symptoms of hormone imbalance, right? So you may experience things like an irregular menstrual cycle now, or when you had a menstrual cycle. You may experience infertility, you may experience miscarriage, you may experience hot flashes, right, in your 20s. So there's something called premature or ovarian failure, which is where your body is, no matter what your age, your body thinks it's in menopause, right? So where you get hot flashes, you stop ovulating, you stop having a menstrual cycle. Maybe your hair is thinning, right? Maybe you have facial hair, maybe you have acne, you have hair on your body where you don't want hair, right? It's that dark, thick, terminal hair. So male pattern hair growth, male pattern hair loss. And then, in that mix are definitely moods that we don't want, or moods that we don't want to associate with, right? Which are, moods like irritability, rage, I know for me, I experienced some major highs and lows. I think for me, I was mostly irritable, and that's definitely a sign of higher or more dominant androgen levels, because I suffered from acne most of my life. And of course, I had acne on my chest and on my back as well. So, when I was younger, I couldn't wear anything low. I couldn't wear anything low in the back as well. So, it was debilitating socially, and my self-esteem was just really low. And then, of course, along with that, So those are some of the symptoms of PCOS, and there's a long list of symptoms, right? So, digestion comes into play. A lot of times weight gain is a really big issue for some women, but you can also be thin, and you can actually, when you're thin, you experience all of these same issues. And interestingly enough, you still have some pretty major insulin resistance and blood sugar swings, but you're thin. So you're just, you usually will then have potentially lower blood sugar rather than higher blood sugar. So you're more suffering from reactive hypoglycemia. Potentially. So things are kind of the opposite, but they're driven by the same factors, if that makes sense. So, and Rebecca mentioned really heavy flow. So you can have really heavy flow and for really prolonged periods of time. Many women with PCOS have a prolonged flow that's, a prolonged heavy flow. And you can also just experience a regular menstrual cycle, but your flow is super heavy. So there are all these different things that you can experience. No woman is the same, right? We all experience different things. So I had very oily skin. I had acne. I had one skin tag that I found that actually, when I improved my hormone balance, went away, right? So you actually can, in a very short period of time, you can get rid of the facial hair. It will pretty quickly start to go away, as well as skin tags will start to go away. Acne will clear up. Your hair will start to grow. Your cycle will get more regulated when you come back into hormone balance. So it's pretty exciting. I mean, one side of it is we're kind of stuck, right, in what I call hormone hell. But the other side of it is once we figure out ourselves, right, you have to figure out what your body needs. Once you figure that out, then it can be reversed pretty quickly. So I'm excited to share with you about brain chemistry today because it's something that's not talked about a lot, but it's so important if you want to feel well. So let's jump in a little bit. Hi, Maria Rosa. So glad to be here today. I'm so glad to have you. So glad to have you, Rebecca. Glad to see you here, Elizabeth. It's just really lovely to have you here. All right. So if you have anything that you'd like to discuss around brain chemistry, like I'd love, if you're listening live, I'd love for you to post, like, what are your biggest challenges around brain chemistry? And that can be anything from irritability, rage, fatigue, right? Fatigue is a brain chemistry issue. What else? PMS symptoms. Let's see. Just grumpy, maybe grumpy suits you better. Anxiety, depression, right? So what are those symptoms, brain chemistry symptoms that you're experiencing? Would love to hear from you on that. All right. So we're going to talk about not only brain chemistry today, but how hormones fit into that brain chemistry. So it's kind of cool. And of course, cravings, right? Cravings is definitely a brain chemistry issue. It's a mood, right? So we crave foods, and that's because our brain chemistry is a little bit out of balance. So go ahead and post like what your big things are. So thanks, Rebecca. Rebecca said fatigue and depression. That's awesome. Maria Rosa, I have PMDD. All right, great. Thanks for sharing those. Really appreciate that. Yeah, depression and anxiety are the worst for you. Okay. All right, good to know. Okay, so let's get a real understanding of what this is. So first off, I want to talk about the main players. So the main players in our brain chemistry that affects our moods, there are three of them. So the first one is serotonin. And serotonin is actually it's our feel-good brain chemical. Have you heard about serotonin before? Have you heard it talked about? So if you suffer from depression, like true depression, that is that means that you're deficient in serotonin. And certainly during the time of year, so if you live in the northern hemisphere right now, we have shorter days. Although we just went through we just had a time change, so we got an hour back, which means our days are a little bit longer now. But during the winter months, our days are pretty short, which means that we have less sunlight. And sunlight is what helps us to build serotonin. It's really important to get sunlight in your eyes first thing in the morning, because that helps to set your circadian rhythm and build serotonin. And so a lot of women, actually a lot of people in general, suffer from something called SAD, or SAD, which is seasonal affective disorder. Have you heard of that? And if you're listening live, have you ever experienced that? So when the days get shorter, let's say late August, September, in the northern hemisphere, and in the southern hemisphere, I'm not sure what the dates are for that. But when the days start getting shorter for you, do you notice that you get a little bit more down, right? A little bit more depressed? Yeah. All right. So SAD stands for seasonal affective disorder. Okay. And that again it really happens for people who just experience lower serotonin when the days are shorter. So when there's less light outside. Okay. Does that make sense? So right now we're talking about the brain chemical serotonin. And this is your feel good brain chemical. Okay, so when you have plenty of serotonin, you are one happy camper, right? You're feeling pretty good. So it's our primary defense against depression and anxiety. Serotonin transmits positive feelings and thoughts. It's our feel-good brain chemical. Low serotonin can look like anything from panic, irritability, insomnia, PMS symptoms, and muscle pain. Pretty wild, huh? So low serotonin has like kind of a wide range of symptoms that you might feel. Does any of this resonate with you? Are you feeling some low serotonin symptoms? Would love to hear from you on that. Yeah, and Maria Rosa says vitamin D plays a huge role too. Yes, it does. Yes, like that. Because vitamin D is what we take in this from the sun in the morning, and vitamin D and serotonin work hand in hand, right? And there's a lot that you can do to build serotonin. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But our gut health plays a huge role because we make somewhere around 90% of our serotonin in our gut. And serotonin is that really cool brain chemical that actually turns into melatonin at night. So if you're not sleeping well at night, it could very well be that you're low in serotonin. And serotonin is also super important to help you manage cravings. So if you're someone who has higher cravings, you could really be low in serotonin. So I'm going to give you a little questionnaire right now, and I want you to just keep track of how you come out on this, and then you can sort of decide if you're deficient in serotonin or not. Are you ready? So if you have a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, just keep track. So what you want to do is you want to rate these on a scale from 1 to 10. So 10 means it's a really big deal for you, and 1 means it's just not a big deal for you, okay? So this is, again, we're identifying low serotonin. So the first statement is afternoon. You experience afternoon or evening cravings. You experience afternoon or evening cravings. So if that's a really big deal for you, put a 8, 9, or 10. If it's not a big deal for you, you can put 0, 1, 2, wherever you land on that spectrum. Okay. All right. And the second question is you suffer from negativity or depression. So maybe you have a lot of negative thoughts going around in your head all the time. So how do you experience that? Is it not a big deal for you? That would be a 1. It's a really big deal for you. That would be a 10, and then anywhere in between. Okay. And this questionnaire is actually was adapted from The Mood Cure by Dr. Julia Ross. Fantastic book. And also my colleague, Trudy Scott, who worked with Julia Ross for a few years, from her book, I think it's The Food Anxiety Solution, something like that. And then the next question, low self-esteem. So do you really suffer from low self-esteem? So 0, 1, 2, 3, not really a big deal for you. 8, 9, 10, a big deal for you. So of course, now for me, it would be maybe a 1, but when I was really suffering with a lot of PCOS symptoms, it was more like a 10, right? So where are you falling on that spectrum? Yeah, Angie says, I love that book. It's a great book for sure. Yeah. All right. And then the next one, obsessive thoughts or behaviors. So what that means is you're constantly thinking about the same thing over and over and over in your mind. So you're obsessing, right? So do you obsess a lot? That would be 8, 9, 10. If you don't obsess much, 0, 1, 2, 3. Controlling, you feel really controlling. Where do you land on that spectrum? Controlling. All right, the next one is perfectionism. You feel like you have to do everything just perfect. Or can you say, that's good enough? So if you tend towards perfectionism, going to be closer to a 10. If you're okay with okay, then, it's a 0, 1, 2, 3. All right, winter blues. So that's a seasonal affective disorder we talked about, winter blues. So, as the days get shorter, do you notice your moods kind of get lower? Winter blues. The next one is irritability, rage, PMS symptoms. What does that look like for you? Is that a problem or just not a big deal? All right, the next one is you dislike hot weather. You dislike hot weather. That can be a really big one for me. Yeah. And I know that when my thoughts go more negative, that I'm just a little deficient in serotonin, right? Panic attacks or phobias. That's really big for low serotonin. Panic attacks or phobias. Where do you fall on that spectrum? All right, the next one, fibromyalgia. So kind of just pain randomly throughout your body, no real diagnosis for it. TMJ, which is a tightness or pain here in your jaw, or other pain. Suicidal thoughts. So this is kind of on the extreme end of things, but have you had suicidal thoughts, or do you currently have them occasionally? That's low serotonin, right? Night owl, hard to get to sleep. So maybe you call yourself a night owl, but maybe you're just deficient in serotonin. And there's just one more question, insomnia. So you have a hard time falling asleep, or you have a hard time staying asleep? Hard time falling asleep or hard time staying asleep? So I'd love for you to sort of tally up the total here and just post it in the comment section. What total did you come up with? So, if you even have, 3 or 4 of these above a 5, then, you really want to consider supporting yourself to build serotonin. Okay, to build serotonin. Because, I always think about it this way with brain chemistry. When we get our brain chemistry in the right place, we can accomplish anything. Like, it doesn't matter what we have going on with our bodies or our life. If your brain chemistry is in a good place, you can do it, right? So now all of a sudden, it's like there's nothing in your way. You're motivated, you're happy. You're not attracted to foods that don't serve you. You can sort of power through the day. You can make better decisions, right? All these really good things start happening. So I love the idea of getting your brain chemistry in alignment so that then you can follow a healthier path. Does that make sense? It's pretty cool, right? So, whenever somebody came to me as a one-on-one client and asked me, or told me that they wanted to lose weight, I always thought, well, okay, we'll get their brain chemistry in the right place first, and then we'll work on the weight loss component. And sure enough, when they felt better, they were not worried about the weight loss component because it was like a byproduct of them feeling better, if that makes sense. So has anybody posted their scores yet? So Maria Rita, hey, nice to see you here. So she says, oh my gosh, I do get moody, sad. I'm a perfectionist, basically not happy with my life. Yes, winter blues, PMS, a big deal to me and people around me. Okay, you're in the right place. Oh my gosh, Maria Rosa, yeah. So 95. Okay, thanks for posting. You get a prize for being the first to post. And no sad faces. That's a sad crying face. That's pretty sad. So yeah, the really cool thing about this assessment is that it is what it is. You are where you are. So now you know, and now you can improve it. So what you can measure, you can improve. Yay! So you have nowhere to go but up, girl, right? Okay, so no worries. Great. Thank you for sharing. And then, so Maria Rita says, I have TMJ. In fact, I'm now using the sort of device to relax jaw muscles. I usually have a hard time falling asleep, but with Vitex is calming. I sleep ABD better. Okay, I'm not sure what ABD stands for. There are always a lot of acronyms. So spell things out for me because I don't always know what they are. Great. Okay, and so just know that with TMJ, devices are good for short term. They're not so great for long term because they're not solving the problem, right? They're not addressing the root cause of your problem. So you just want to help build serotonin, and I'll give you things to focus on to do that, right? Because when you build serotonin, Maria Rita, you're going to feel so much better, and that's going to improve. Okay, somehow I got the 95 back up there. All right. Good. So any other scores coming across? Anybody else keeping track? I want to see your score. Come on, girls. All right. Well, you post it when you're ready. Okay. So now we're going to talk about, that's all about serotonin. Let me just share with you before we move on. I want to share with you what can deplete your serotonin. So your diet, right? Your diet is a big deal when it comes to building serotonin. In fact, that's the case for all of these, because keep in mind that your brain chemistry is built with amino acids, and amino acids are the breakdown of protein. Okay, so I'm going to type that in here real quick. So brain chemistry is built with amino acids. They come from the protein in your diet. Oh my gosh, it took the whole thing. Look at that. Okay, so brain chemistry is built with amino acids. They come from the protein in your diet. So when you eat chicken or fish, or you eat some beans with some nuts or some seeds, you actually break that down into amino acids. And amino acids are what build your body. So amino acids build your brain chemistry, amino acids build your bone, amino acids build your muscle, and amino acids helps your liver to detoxify. So if you're not getting enough protein, or you're not digesting it well and breaking it down well, then you're probably going to be brain chemistry deficient, right? You're going to feel lousy, in other words. It's really important to not only get good protein in, that's what we're working on in our Blissful Body Challenge, right? It's one of the things, but you want to get really good healthy protein in, and then you want to have really good hearty digestion to break it down. Does that make sense? Okay. Great. So let's see. Well, Maria Rita, let's see. Yeah, you'll have to listen to the first part again and then post your score after, because we just went through the questionnaire. And we're so happy to have you here. So happy. Okay. All right. So I just want to share with you again where you might have lost your serotonin, and that's in your diet. If you're not eating enough pro-serotonin foods like protein, healthy fats, if you're eating anti-serotonin foods like caffeinated sodas, coffee, diet sweetened drinks, so drinks that have aspartame, NutraSweet, sucralose in them, really anti-serotonin foods. If you're under a lot of stress, that can lower your serotonin because your brain struggles with overwhelming or chronic demands. Takes a lot of serotonin to do that. In your genes, so if you inherited what are called false mood brain programming, but you can overcome your genes, right, with the right diet, good sleep, taking really good care of yourself. In the evening or in winter when there's not enough bright light to signal your brain to make serotonin. Okay, so we talked about that. You know, when the days are shorter, you can definitely become more serotonin deficient. And then lack of exercise. So when you've underestimated the mood enhancing effect of physical activity. So even just a little bit of physical activity can actually help you produce more serotonin and help you become more insulin sensitive, right? Super cool stuff. All right. Oh my gosh, Maria Rosa says, diet really is everything. The past 2 months, I dropped 28 pounds and I've learned a lot about eating. Congratulations. Woohoo. Nice. And I bet that you not only have released some weight, but you're probably just feeling so much better, right? So if you're eating the right way, you're building that serotonin and you're just feeling so much better. All right. So that's how you might have lost your serotonin. Okay, so of course you want to reverse all those things. And then stimulants like caffeine, ephedra, diet pills, anything that jacks up your, sort of amps you up is going to be serotonin depleting. And then we talked about the really icky artificial sweeteners that can really deplete serotonin. Okay, so now the next brain chemical that we're going to talk about is one called GABA. Okay, and GABA stands for gamma aminobutyric acid, and it's nature's stress buster. It kind of works hand in hand with progesterone. So progesterone supports GABA, GABA supports progesterone. Progesterone is also called nature's Valium, right? It makes us feel all warm and fuzzy and relaxed, kind of the antithesis of rage and anxiety and irritability, right? So GABA is our relaxing neurotransmitter. So when we're full of GABA, we actually feel relaxed, we feel comfortable. Our muscles are not tight, but they're relaxed. Oh my gosh, I had so many issues with GABA. So not only was my serotonin depleted, but my GABA was so depleted. I used to pull out my neck constantly. So I don't know if you've ever done this or this has ever happened to you where you kind of stretch and maybe you wake up in the morning and all of a sudden something snaps and now you can't move your neck, right? So your neck is kind of stuck. And then it stays that way for days, right? So that's a GABA deficiency for sure. Definitely magnesium too, but GABA is responsible for muscles. And I would go to the chiropractor regularly because I always had such a stiff neck and right shoulder. And when I learned about amino acids, started supporting thyroid better, then all of this went away, right? So it all improved. So it's really, really powerful stuff, super powerful. Thanks, Judy. I will come back to that with hair loss for sure. I'll answer you after this call. I'll just type in a little bit an answer for you. All right. So great. So let's go on to GABA. Now I'm going to read you some GABA symptoms. And again, I want you to have out your piece of paper and your pen or pencil because you're going to score yourself. So remember 10. So you're scoring yourself from 1 to 10. 10 means it's a really big deal. And 1, 2, 3 means it's really not that big a deal for you. Okay, so the higher the score, the worse your symptoms. Okay, so GABA. So they're just 5 or 6. So you crave carbohydrates, alcohol, or drugs for relaxation. So you crave carbohydrates, alcohol, or drugs for relaxation. So are you on the low side of that, or are you on the high side? All right, the second one is you feel stressed or burned out. You feel stressed or burned out. Where do you rank? Are you like really high? Are you super stressed and burned out? 8, 9, 10. Not so stressed. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the third one is unable to relax or loosen up. Unable to relax or loosen up. Where do you score on that one? Unable to relax or loosen up. All right. The next one is stiff or tense muscles. Do you experience stiff or tense muscles? All right, and the last one is you often feel easily overwhelmed. You often feel easily overwhelmed. All right, so how did you score with GABA? And it actually takes GABA to make serotonin work in the brain. So if you're low in GABA, you might have enough serotonin, but it might be hard for serotonin to work effectively because GABA is kind of the main, it's called, both GABA and serotonin are called inhibitory neurotransmitters. So they keep you balanced and feeling happy and light and relaxed. Okay, so they're inhibitory and they need each other to function well. Okay, so how did you score on GABA? Okay, yeah, so that's, that's pretty high too. And it's very, very common to be high in a lot of them, right? Because a lot of times we're deficient. Yeah, I sure love massage for relaxing too, but massage again won't, it's not long-term, right? So you want to look at some of the root causes of what is causing your GABA deficiency and help to replace that. So GABA is definitely nature's stress buster. Okay, it's your brain's natural Valium like progesterone is. And actually Valium is one of the many tranquilizers that was designed to mimic or amplify GABA's naturally calming effects. The really cool part is you can just buy GABA, right? You don't have to use something so dangerous, right, as Valium. Yeah, so GABA is just a potent mood enhancer. Like it just makes you feel so much better. And it can really restore your calm natural state really fast. And one of my favorite products is called GABA Calm, where it actually has some tyrosine in it. So it doesn't make you, too relaxed, but you're relaxed with a little bit of energy. So there's some cool things you can do. So what I'd like to share. And GABA can really help you sleep too. So sleep is one of those things that is a good indication that your brain chemistry is really out of balance. I don't have any. Yeah, so I want to share something that's kind of cool, and it affects a lot of women and a lot of people in general, and it can affect your GABA levels. And it's a condition called pyroluria, and I'll type it in here. Have you heard of it? Something called pyroluria? Pyroluria. It's something to just pay attention to. because I think it can cause a lot of problems for women with PCOS, and we're just not aware of it. So here's what you might notice if you have pyroluria. So some people with very special chemistry may need another set of supplements. So if you have what's called an inborn error of metabolism, which means that you use B6 and zinc in strange ways, so you actually convert them to unusable compounds, then you because B6 and zinc are so important, and these are actually in our Insulite nutrients, they're so important for building GABA and serotonin, right? The whole nutrient team that creates serotonin and other neurotransmitters in the brain. So what this means is that you might need extra B6 and zinc to make your brain chemistry work better. Okay, and I definitely take both of those. So there's a whole pyroluria questionnaire that you can do. You can just Google on it, and you can take the pyroluria questionnaire to see if that might be affecting your brain chemistry. Okay, really big deal. All right, let's go on to the next one. So the next one are, we're just going to review 3 today. And the next one are your catecholamines. Sorry, we're going to review 4 because blood sugar is a huge one, right? Okay, so you have your pen and paper ready? Okay, so this is seeing if you have low catecholamines, mostly dopamine, which is your doing neurotransmitter, right? Your transmitter that helps to get you motivated and excited about things and getting things done, excited for life. So here's the first question. Number 1, cravings for stimulation from sugar, chocolate, caffeine, or stimulating drugs. So you crave stimulation. That means that your catecholamines are low. So are you closer to a 0, or do you really have these cravings bad? Are you closer to a 10? The second question is depression with apathy. So you're depressed, but you just don't really care about anything. Depression with apathy. All right, the third one is lack of energy. So you're just super tired. Okay. Lack of drive. You're not motivated. You find yourself easily bored. You're easily bored. You have a lack of focus. So you have a hard time getting focused on one particular subject. Lack of concentration. And the last one is you feel like you're ADD, right? You just can't stay focused. So how did you score on that one? I would love to know. How did you come out on your catecholamines? So those are what are called excitatory neurotransmitters, right? Those get your energy up, get you going, get you excited, right? Your inhibitories, serotonin and GABA, help to calm you down. Okay, so you want a nice balance of all of those. All right, so that's a good way to get a sense of sort of where you are with the major brain chemicals. And when you get those into balance, it's so much easier to stay focused on a healing plan, right, for your PCOS symptoms. So would love to know how you scored on that. And then I want to talk about, I'm going to just sort of rattle off a bunch of things here. So keep in mind with PCOS, one of the biggest issues that we have for almost all of us is really high levels of insulin, right? So it's oftentimes driven by high levels of cortisol. So cortisol, our stress hormone, comes up, and then insulin comes up to help to get blood sugar into the cells to help us run from the tiger or to help us manage our stress, right? So I want to share a concept here. There's a concept of survival mode versus thriving or growth mode. And the survival mode, of course, is the fight or flight mode, which, if we're constantly stressed, we're constantly in survival mode, which means that our cortisol is elevated and our insulin is elevated. And when that's the case, our blood sugar goes all over the place, right? So when our insulin comes up, it's going to whisk that blood sugar out of the bloodstream. So you're going to then have a big drop in blood sugar. And then, you know, when you eat things that are higher in carbohydrates or you have insulin resistance, your blood sugar is going to go way back up again, right? You're going to have these constant fluctuations, which is going to cause these really high energy levels and low energy levels. And that was my problem. Now, my problem was that I didn't eat breakfast. And I call myself the don't eat breakfast, over exercise. So I thought, okay, if I don't eat breakfast, then I won't have such an appetite throughout the day and I'm much less likely to gain weight. That was my silly thinking. And then, so I won't eat breakfast, I'll go exercise, right? And then I deserve to have a mocha. This is when they first came out, a mocha and a little bow tie pastry. I don't know how I decided that, but really I ate in my mocha and my bow tie pastry. I ate anything that I'd exercised off, right? Because it's super easy to eat a few hundred calories. And I certainly didn't burn more than that at exercise. So then I set my circadian rhythm completely off, right? So I was grumpy girl. Then I was really happy girl for a short time because my blood sugar went way up. And then, you know, within an hour or two, my blood sugar dropped and I was completely cranky, irritable girl again. And not only that, but with high levels of insulin, that converts to more potent androgenic pathways, which means my acne would get worse. For some people, their hair fall out. And for some, they grow facial hair, right? That's called the DHT 5-alpha reductase pathway. And I just want to get to Judy. You had asked about that, and that's how all of this brain chemistry thing plays into hair loss, is that your levels of insulin are too high, okay? And that causes higher, more potent androgens or male hormones, okay? So I wanted to mention the blood sugar component. There are a lot of things that can affect blood sugar. One of them is adrenals, because your adrenals manage blood sugar, right? And adrenals, it's so easy. A lot of my PCOS symptoms were because of my adrenal status, my thyroid status, right? So there's a lot that plays into moods. And I just want to talk for a minute about, it's interesting. So I want to share this. I always do a little research before, Tuesday tips. I want to give you some really powerful information. And I found this, that according to yogis who are yoga masters, life energy is drained from the body by stress, physical illness, prolonged strenuous exercise, an unhealthy diet, or a negative mindset, right? But it's hard when you're in the negative mindset to get out of it so that your body can then thrive and you can replace that life energy. So that's where, really paying attention to what you eat, how your digestion is, detoxification, making sure you get enough sleep, right? All those things that can help you build your brain chemistry back. So I want to talk for a minute about two things. One is cortisol, which is your daytime hormone that your adrenals produce, right? And I want to talk about how your hormones play into your brain chemistry, and then we're going to wrap it up. So if you have any questions, please post them, because I want to make sure to get to them. So high cortisol, you can feel, so this is high stress, right? You can feel tired, but wired. So you're tired, but you're anxious. You may struggle to calm down before bed. You have a feeling of anxiety or nervousness, this underlying feeling, a quickness to feel rage or anger, like yelling, and you have sugar cravings after a meal. So those are some ways to know that you have high cortisol levels. Low cortisol levels, meaning that your adrenals are kind of tired or you have a dysfunctional hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis. You don't really need to know that. But if you're suffering from low cortisol, you might cry for no reason. You might feel fatigue. You need caffeine to get you going, and everything that you do seems hard. Oh my gosh, I've had all of these symptoms. Low progesterone, you would feel agitated, easily disrupted sleep, and you would have poor concentration. Okay, that's low progesterone. Estrogen, so high and low estrogen, these are all the symptoms for either low or high. Mood swings, PMS symptoms, depression, irritability, weepiness over the most ridiculous things. You feel like you have like these little mini breakdowns, anxiety, insomnia, and depression. So that's all from low or high estrogen, so just imbalanced estrogen. And then if your androgens or your male hormones are too high, you'll have unstable blood sugar, right? Which makes perfect sense because high insulin causes excess androgens, which means that you're going to have unstable blood sugar. You might feel reactive or irritable. You might feel aggressive or authoritarian. Rage, depression, anxiety, all of those things are from high androgens. If your thyroid is sluggish, you would feel lethargy, so you'd feel tired. You would feel morning fatigue, especially. Slow brain, so your brain's just sluggish. Slow thoughts, depression, moodiness, and maybe you've tried antidepressants and they just really don't work, right? They don't make you feel like yourself. And then we talked about blood sugar again. So if blood sugar is dysregulated, you're kind of screwed in the brain chemistry department. All right. So I hope that this has sort of given you a good sense of how our brain chemistry affects, our moods, and of course how hormones affect our moods and how they sort of play into each other. Right? Have you gotten sort of a sense of how this all works together? And again, through the right diet, through the right types of movement for you, getting enough sleep, making sure that you store your body through some nice self-care, through all of those ways, really hearty digestion, you can really restore your brain chemistry so that you have the sort of the wherewithal to make some pretty profound health changes. Does that sound good? Yeah. All right. Well, it's been absolutely wonderful being with you here today. And if you have any questions, just post them below this video and I'll be sure to get to them. And I look forward to seeing you next week right here on Tuesday Tip for PCOS. All right. Bye, everyone.